Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Story and I welcome you to Guardian Hot Seat, a series we have here at Planet Destiny that entails inviting a community member over for an interview. In this week's show we have the cunning and crucially crisp CammyCakes. Now while Cammy sits down and makes himself comfortable, I'll take aim and fire with the first cue. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm just a guy who got lucky at YouTube for shooting aliens in Destiny slightly better than the average player. And I think that's the best, most humble way I can put it.
Now, your videos are ram-packed with an encouragement for an alternative way of thinking and a highly adaptive practice when it comes to technique, strategies, loadouts, weapons and class builds. Have you always had this mindset or is this something that you've developed?
Well, there's two schools of thought for why I do this. One is I think everything deserves a fair chance in the meta. So let's say Telesto, for instance, that's kind of the joke weapon, but that's because no one really gave it a chance. And then on the other hand, it's choosing something that's purposely bad because it's a bad matchup for other people. They don't know how to react to a Telesto because they've never played against a Telesto and so forth.
Is there a particular weapon or a particular loadout that you've used over the whole duration of Destiny that really kind of accentuates this for you?
I think the best thing that accentuates that is the Khepri Sting whenever that came out.
Yeah.
No one really used invisibility to its full potential. Like, in fact, it was almost just the asshole thing to do because you wouldn't be on the radar. People would be like, Invis, you scumbag. But then I figured out just by happen chance that if you throw a knife in crouch and the knife is incendiary blade, if the knife tags him, it's a kill. It's guaranteed. Granted, it'll take 15 seconds for them to burn out, but you don't have to put another shot on them. I just tell my whole team, all right, start emoting. They're going to know what's up. And then they die 15 seconds later and they can't do anything about it.
Good answer. Okay, all-time favorite subclass and loadout, and why?
This one's pretty easy. Defender Titan is my favorite because it's the best. Like, it's so good, I don't even use it all the time. I know most of the community thinks the contrary thing, a defender is weak, but it really is strong. It's the only super that can give your entire team a buff. Well, a buff that matters. I know Song of Flame on Sunsinger does it.
Yeah.
And it creates orbs for your team, which helps cycle supers and give you another super. I don't remember when Bungie put out this information, but they eventually said that for teams with Defender Titan, you're more likely to win, and there's a reason for that. On top of having a suppressor grenade that cancels supers, I just don't see how you can think this is a bad subclass anymore.
If you could buff one weapon and nerf one weapon of your choices, what would they be?
I would buff Red Death. Just recently, that sample platter of exotics, Red Death got forgotten. And seeing as they buffed high impact pulse rifles, it makes sense to return Red Death to its former glory and make it a high impact pulse rifle.
Agreed.
Now, for the exotic that I want to nerf, this one's really simple because it kills me more than I kill other people. Nerf the Sleeper Simulant. Now, I know a couple of you out there are going to say, Cammy, just don't unlock that perk node, but I'm still waiting for that ultimate collateral kill where it bounces around the map and gets 4 people. Can't do that if I don't level up the node.
Okay, let's talk humour. You've got a very sharp wit and a very classical sense of humour. So my next question is, what inspires this kind of humour? Do you have any tales that you can tell us that would give us an insight to the origins of such a strong funny bone?
So this is way back, like elementary school. And maybe 4th, 5th, 6th grade, they teach you the same stuff every year, at least in America they did. And what it came down to was I sat in the back of the class thinking, like, really, are we going to learn about present participles again? Or participles, however you pronounce it. See, I didn't really learn much in school, obviously. I'm just thinking, man, I could be playing some Halo right now. I don't need to be in school. So I just sat simmering in the back, thinking of all these comedic things to use on YouTube years later.
How about favorite Destiny memory?
So my favorite Destiny memory is just playing PvP and trying to forget about just a tough day at school or work or whatever. Just a 6-man game of Crucible. And what we like to do at the time, because it wasn't nerfed then, is pair a Defender Titan with a Blade Dancer and go send them to disrupt a team. So the bubble would pop, the Blade Dancer would pop at super, and then shoot Razor's Edge through the bubble in safety at all the enemies, and they'd be raging and quitting, just, no, I can't shoot you back, and you're hitting me with these Razor's Edge in perfect safety. It's great.
PvP wise, what is your outgoing philosophy with the old Crucible? When you launch a game to play, is there anything that you set out to do or achieve or experience, or do you just hit go?
I don't like to just jump in the Crucible and play as much anymore. I like to go in with a purpose to improve. And here's my philosophy on how to get better at Destiny, because the skill-based matchmaking is horrendous for some and okay for others. What I like to do is look at the lobby. If I don't recognize any names, that's usually a good notion for me to put on easier weapons, not use the meta per se. And so what I like to do is keep my loadout enough to barely win if I'm trying my best. And that keeps me sharp.
That's some pretty hardcore stuff. So if you're not up against the super sweaties or the recognizable names, what would you be looking over?
I'd be using something that I know hasn't been used in a long time, like whatever has the most dust in my vault. Like, for instance, on my Hunter, I have my item manager open. There's an auto rifle right there. It has persistence and hip fire, which those perks coupled together means you don't have to aim down sights. If you're not aiming down sights, that means you can strafe faster. And so I'm thinking, all right, now we're going to knock the agility up all the way on the Hunter and just hip fire some people down and try to outstrafe them. And then I die to 3 hand cannon bullets and put it away and like, all right, Luna's coming out.
If I was a leading developer at Bungie, one that has the power to flick all the switches and make all the good stuff happen, what would you like to ask, or what would you like to say to me?
I would just like to have some intellectual conversation on maybe the reasoning for some nerfs and then why other nerfs haven't happened. And I hate using the word nerf because buff definitely applies here too, but just talk about balance in general and get a feel for the philosophy, because I don't feel like Bungie does a good enough job of that, and they could cut a lot of the flack there for just giving reasonings for their nerfs and buffs ahead of time.
Like they're kind of doing now with the 2 recent this week at Bungie.
They're getting a lot better with that, yes. But another thing I just thought of is you see all these Twitter responses when people ask in regards to nerfs and buffs of things. Like if they ask, hey, why did Blink get nerfed? Bungie dev will actually respond and say, because it was too difficult for the victim responding to a blink. And had they just said that in the weekly update, I doubt they would have gotten as much flack for saying, I don't know, nerfing blink.
Okay, here's a random one for you. Matchmaking. What are your thoughts on matchmaking in Destiny PvP?
On matchmaking, this one's pretty simple. If it wasn't there, Crucible wouldn't be fun. Like, even if I put on the stupidest weapons, it just wouldn't be fun. It would be bullying new players and potentially making someone not want to play this game. And I know that's the goal for a lot of people, but not for me. I want this community to thrive. On the other hand, because it takes such a long time to find players in a small Xbox population and then a skill gap at the top, like say in Rumble, it's going to take a while to find players. And then on top of that, they're going to be lagging because they're from Indonesia.
How often are you playing players that are way outside your regions when you sit down to play?
I want to say every game, but I can't prove it without a net Duma.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult without knowing, being able to see the locations. But we could narrow it down to how many players, how much red bar action do you get? How much red bar love are you facing when you go into your average game of Rumble?
Well, first off, I don't think the red bar, green bar, yellow bar really means much because I've seen them all through Destiny. I've had perfect games where everyone's red bar, and I've had terrible games where everyone's green bar. But you can kind of get an idea for it. Like, no hate on Brazil. I've totally made this joke on the channel before. But when I see that capital BR in your name and you're teleporting through walls, shooting me through walls, I'm already just like wanting to quit.
Okay. Best advice for someone looking to be successful in the Crucible post 2502.
Get yourself a sidearm. You're done.
Done.
That's all you need to know.
It's all done. Any particular one you're going to recommend there, or are they all the same?
Everyone's going to recommend the Wormwood or the Trespasser, and you're pretty good with those two. If you haven't started practicing with Icebreaker or No Land Beyond, start. Special ammo isn't as abundant. So that being said, I answered a question earlier that says, use something that's way out of the meta to give people a matchup problem. And shotguns can do that right now. If you're decent with the shotgun, you can go in and they have no defense against it.
What are your ultimate hopes or ultimate fears for Destiny 2?
Alright, ultimate hopes, Take a Knee returns in full glory. Take a Knee is an old perk that got nerfed to where you can't just slide and shoot the sniper rifle and it'll go perfectly where you aim, making for some amazing montage clips and a huge skill gap. Now the biggest fear is the fusion rifle nerf. Crucible Playbook has got this VOOP Nation going thing on, and I stand behind this movement. Fusion rifles are very strong. Maybe not in this particular meta because special ammo is kind of a thing. And for me, using a fusion rifle means pre-firing, which means I'm charging before you even see me so that the instant you see me, I'm already shooting. That's what makes a fusion rifle strong. They're a lot easier to use than a sniper in that regard as well. But you take ammo away from them and suddenly they have a problem competing. As for the nerf part that I fear, for some reason they've been nerfed over the years with almost no reasoning to it, messing up the Vex Mythoclast in the process.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, do you still enjoy playing this game?
I'd have to say yes. For real, the gunplay in this game is untouched from anything else, and I'm sure a lot of us can agree with that. But it's not just the gunplay that makes this game great. I have built a small little community. I love playing with friends, hearing about their day, seeing what makes people tick, and in Destiny you can do that. Yes, there are some bad eggs out there, but we have a great community.
Plug time. Where can we find all of your beautiful stuff?
YouTube.com/CammyCakes Gaming. Now that is primarily where I like to be contacted. I'm not the best with using Twitter and other social medias, mostly because of the student thing, but youtube.com/CammyCakes Gaming.
Now, to put the cherry atop the pie, we are being blessed with your presence for this weekend's Planet Destiny podcast. So that's, if anyone wants to come and give us some support and say hello to CammyCakes on Sunday at 7 p.m. PST, he will be on a guest spot for our podcast then, so please come along and say hello. Let's have a massive round of applause for this week's guest on Guardian Hot Seat, CammyCakes. Ladies and gentlemen, didn't he do well? Many thanks for being with us here tonight.
Oh, no problem. It was a pleasure.
Huge thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to be there 7 p.m. PST, Sunday night, Planet Destiny podcast. That's goodbye from me, and it's
Adios
from CammyCakes. See ya.